So the unique fire quiver turned into Blackgleam requires level 8. Adds 3 to 5 fire damage to attacks. Plus 43 to maximum mana. 50% increased chance to ignite. Projectiles pierce all ignited enemies. Attacks gain 7% of damage as extra fire damage. There you go. Now let's check out what the AI is going to say for a suggested build for this.
You ever get that feeling when you're playing a game and you find that one item? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That perfect item. The one that just makes you go, yes.
Totally.
This is it.
This is how I win.
This is how I'm going to dominate.
Yeah. You just feel the power.
And that's what we're diving into today.
Ooh, right.
With Blackgleam.
Blackgleam. Nice.
It's a unique quiver. And it just promises like fiery chaos. Especially if you build around it right.
Very cool. I'm intrigued.
So what's interesting about Blackgleam is that it's a support item.
Okay.
Not a weapon itself, right?
Right.
So it's not like you're, getting this super powerful bow or anything. It's the quiver that makes the build.
I see. So it's all about what it does to your attacks, not about its own stats.
Exactly. So it's usable at level 8.
Oh, wow. So early game.
Yeah. Which means you can get this power boost early on.
Okay, I like that. Got to get ahead early.
Yeah. And then it gives you some added fire damage, a mana boost, a solid ignite chance.
That's a good start. All good things for a fire build, right?
Right. But what really got me was this line in the description.
Yeah.
Projectiles pierce all ignited enemies.
Whoa. Okay, now that's interesting.
That sounds like some serious chain reaction potential.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, imagine an arrow just tearing through one enemy and then hitting the next one, setting them on fire too.
And then the next one.
Exactly. It's like a domino effect of just fire and destruction.
Especially when you pair that with the right skills and abilities.
Oh, for sure. And don't forget that extra fire damage from attacks, that's going to add up quickly.
Right. So we're really turning a single arrow into a wave of destruction.
Precisely. And that's the beauty of Blackgleam, right? It's not just about raw damage. You have to be strategic about it. Ignite the enemies, exploit that pierce.
Maximize the impact.
Exactly.
So the build suggests a ranger.
A classic.
Right. Specifically, the Deadeye specialization.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm picturing some kind of, agile archer.
Yeah.
Just dancing through combat, peppering enemies with fiery arrows.
Oh, yeah. The Ranger, particularly the Deadeye, is a perfect fit for Blackgleam. I mean, they're agile, they're all about ranged combat, and they have that natural affinity for elemental damage.
Perfect match.
Perfect match. It all just clicks together.
But remind me, what exactly is a Deadeye? I feel like we haven't talked about those in a while.
Right. So it's an ascendancy class. It's like a specialization within the Ranger. They really double down on precision and projectile damage. Think of it like this. You take all the Ranger's base skills, right?
Okay.
And then you crank them up, way up.
To 11.
To 11.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to ranged attacks.
All right. So I'm starting to see the synergy here.
Right.
But let's break it down. How does Blackgleam actually play with the Deadeye's abilities?
Okay, great question. So let's take Endless Munitions, for example.
No.
It's one of the Deadeye's Ascendancy passives. What it does is it grants additional projectiles with each attack.
Oh, cool. So more arrows.
Okay, more arrows. Now, pair that with Blackgleam's piercing.
Ooh, lots of
So
piercing.
you're not just firing one arrow anymore, you're unleashing a volley.
Okay, now it's getting interesting.
Right. And that volley can ignite and pierce through multiple enemies.
I'm starting to get why this build's so powerful.
It's a lot of fun. And then there's Gathering Winds.
Yeah, Gathering Winds. That sounds familiar.
It's a really interesting one. What it does is it grants both attack and movement speed,
Okay.
which makes you incredibly elusive, right?
Right.
But here's the catch.
Oh, there's always a catch.
Right. Any hit resets the stacks.
Oh, so you can't just go in guns blazing all the time.
Exactly. Positioning and timing becomes so crucial with this one. You become this whirlwind of, like, fiery death, but one wrong step, and you're vulnerable.
High risk, high reward.
Exactly. You gotta be on your toes, think fast, move fast.
All right, and then there's Eagle Eye, right?
Eagle Eye, a classic.
Yeah, I remember that one.
This one removes accuracy penalties at range.
Oh, nice.
So you can just rain down fire from a distance without worrying about hitting your targets.
Perfect for this build.
Perfect for this build.
So we've got our Deadeye, we've got Blackgleam. What are the skills that really make this build shine?
All right, so one of the key skills is Rain of Arrows.
Rain of Arrows, classic.
It's fantastic for quickly igniting multiple targets.
Oh, okay, so this is our setup skill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're blanketing the area in flames, setting the stage for those satisfying, piercing shots.
I can just imagine this Deadeye
Yeah.
zipping around like a firefly,
Uh-huh.
leaving a trail of burning enemies behind them.
Yeah, it's like a pyrotechnics show gone wrong in the best way possible.
In the best way possible. And then for our main attack, we have
Burning Arrow.
Burning Arrow.
Classic. All about maximizing that ignite chance.
Look at keep those flames going.
Exactly. Consistent ignites mean consistent piercing, which,
Right.
of course, is what this build is all about.
Makes sense. And then for those big explosions we have
We've got Detonating Arrow.
Detonating Arrow. Okay.
It explodes on impact, can ignite entire groups of enemies. So if you really want to make things go boom, that's your go-to.
It's all about those chain reactions.
Big, fiery chain reactions. So satisfying.
So satisfying. Now, we touched on support gems a little earlier. How do they amplify this build?
Good question. So one of the most vital support gems here is faster projectiles.
Faster projectiles. Okay, makes sense.
Right, because the faster your arrows travel, the more quickly they pierce through ignited enemies.
So it's really about maximizing that chain reaction.
Exactly. You want to create this cascade of fiery explosions, really unleash the power of Blackgleam.
Okay, and fire penetration.
Fire penetration is a great one because it's not just for those super tough enemies with high fire resistance.
Right.
It also helps ensure that every arrow, no matter what you're facing, has a good chance to ignite.
Consistent ignites, consistent piercing.
Depthy.
I'm getting it. So every build needs its passive skill tree.
Oh, absolutely. The passive skill tree is like the foundation of any build.
The foundation of the Inferno.
Exactly. And for this build, you really want to focus on those core damage nodes.
Right. So we're talking like bow damage, projectile damage.
Yeah, those are your bread and butter. You want to pump those up as high as you can. Then, of course, we stack fire damage on top of that.
To really make those ignites hurt.
Absolutely. You want those flames to be scorching. And a little extra ignite chance can't hurt either.
Right. To make sure everything's burning nicely.
Exactly. Consistent ignites, consistent piercing. It all comes back to that.
Okay. So we've got the skills, we've got the passives. What kind of gear are we looking for to complete this fiery Deadeye?
All right, so for your weapon, obviously a bow is the way to go. Ideally, you want one with added fire damage or projectile damage.
To further boost that Inferno.
Exactly. For armor and jewelry, you want to prioritize survivability.
Okay, so we're talking fire resistance, life, evasion.
All those good things. You want to be able to withstand some hits, especially when you're playing with gathering winds. And don't underestimate charms.
Ah, charms. They can really add that extra oomph.
Right. They can give you bonuses like increased damage against ignited enemies, or even just some extra stats to round out your build.
So, to sum it all up, we're talking about a Deadeye Ranger equipped with Blackgleam, turning the battlefield into this symphony of fiery explosions and piercing arrows.
Exactly. You got it.
Sounds like a blast.
Oh, it definitely is. But here's a final thought for you and all our listeners.
Ooh, I like these final thoughts.
How might this build be adapted for different play styles? You know, maybe you want to push that glass cannon aspect even further, or maybe you want to go for a tankier version. There are so many possibilities to explore.
There's always more to discover.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining us for another Jeep Dive.
Anytime.
And until next time, happy gaming.
See you around.